Viewer discretion is advised. The following episode of Scary Parre contains graphic descriptions, disturbing subject matter, and real-life accounts of violence, crime, and trauma. These stories may be unsettling and are not suitable for children or viewers who are sensitive to graphic content. The content presented is for educational and discussion purposes only. We do not glorify violence, nor do we intend to exploit the victims involved. Listener discretion is strongly advised. If you choose to continue, brace yourself.
Movie here so I can see the comments. Alrighty, good morning, everybody. We are doing a special edition of the Scary Parre podcast. We are doing a morning Saturday edition, and today we are talking high-profile cult leaders. So welcome back to the Scary Parre podcast, the show where you sit in the dark or light long enough to see what people were hiding in plain sight. I'm your host, Parre T, along with
your girl Mila B.
Okay, what's up, Mila B? And the B stand for about to be breaking down these cult leaders. You like how I did that? You like how I did that? That was T. We are stepping into one of the most disturbing, layered, and controversial, as well as heartbreaking stories in American history. Not just because people died, of course, not just because there was a fire, not just because the news cameras were rolling during all of this, but because this story is really about something deeper. What happens when one man becomes more believable than reality itself? Tonight, we're talking about David Koresh, a man born as Vernon Wayne Holland, who reinvented himself as a prophet, who convinced followers he alone could unlock divine truth, who built spiritual authority so powerful that even as the walls closed in, many people would still would not leave. And let's be real from the start. That is what makes a cult so terrifying. It's easy to look at the ending and say that's crazy. It's so much harder to look at the beginning and understand how crazy often enters dressed like certainty, purpose, belonging, and answers. Because cult leaders usually do not show up saying, "Hey, I'm here to ruin your life." No, they show up saying, "I see what other people missed. I can explain what confuses you. I can give you suffering meaning. I can give your suffering meaning as to why you're going through it. I can give your life purpose, or I can tell you what happens next." And whew, that last one is dangerous because people are drawn to whoever sounds the most certain when life feels the most uncertain. So today, I want you locked in. I want you guys thinking. I want you asking yourself not just who David Koresh was, but why people believed him and why people stayed. And what does this story tell us about power today? Because this just is not a story about Waco. This is a story about control, charisma, about prophecy, about fear, and about how fast devotion can become a trap. So, dim the lights, settle in, and let's get into episode 2 of our high profile cult leader series. This is about David Koresh. Yay, David Koresh. Ah! Wait, I gotta sound. Hang on. I gotta sound. I gotta get it. Ah, David Koresh. One more time. Do it again, my love. Do the clap. Do the Scary Parre clap. Ah, David Koresh. Okay, So before we jump right on in, Mila, do you know, so that I know how much to give you, do you know um anything necessarily about Mr. David Koresh? No. Okay. So this picture that we have behind us is sort of kind of what he looks like. But let me share my screen for a quick second. Let's see. Share screen. Where is it? Information. David Koresh. Share. Okay. Let me make sure. Can add to stage. Okay. So this man here. This is David Koresh.
Ain't that the man on the background?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is just a more accurate picture. The picture that we have on the background is kind of more detailed and everything. I gotta make those comments bigger. I can't see. There we go. So this is him. This is David Koresh. Now, just looking at him, you can definitely tell where he has the charisma, where he kind of has the ability to be that for somebody. Because looking at him, I'm just like, I might have followed you a time or two, 3
No.
or 4.
No.
No, not you. We definitely have different preferences. We've established that. We've established that we have different preferences.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kind of get into who David Koresh was. So David Koresh was born Vernon Wayne Howell in 1959. He later adopted the name David Koresh, tying himself symbolically to biblical figures, King David and Cyrus. Part of the image making that helped frame him as more than ordinary. He identifies himself as the religious leader at the center of the Branch Davidian story near Waco. Now let's stop right here because I need y'all to hear this. Names matter, especially in stories about power. People don't usually reinvent themselves for no reason. When somebody changes their name in a spiritual movement, it often isn't cosmetic, it's strategic. It signals transformation. It says, I'm not just who I was born as, I am who destiny says I am. And that can be magnetic because once people stop seeing you as regular flawed human being and start seeing you as a symbol, they begin forgiving things they would never tolerate from anybody else. That's one of the first tricks of dangerous leadership. You stop being a man and you become a message. And messages get protected harder than people do. By many accounts, Koresh was awkward in some settings growing up, but intentionally drawn to the Bible, especially prophecy. He wasn't a polished celebrity preacher at first. He was more like someone who found in scripture place to build identity, authority, and eventually power. Britannica notes his later central role in scriptural interpretation among the Branch Davidians. So he originally started off as a normal man who, just loved the Lord. He loved the Bible, he loved prophecy from the Bible. He then began using his message as his power. And his message was simply, I am the second coming of Christ. Believe me. Now, hear me out. All right. Oh, I am nauseous. Um. Okay, so hear me out. Let me think for a second. I think it's him who's making me nauseous. I like the way he looks.
That's your problem.
Don't judge me. You're judging me. You're judging me. I can see it in your face. You're judging me. Okay, so hear me out. And for those of you guys on my TikTok side that are watching me on the TikTok, if you like to see the graphics, head over to the Parre YouTube page or the Perry Thompson Facebook page and you can watch the show. So hear me out. Looking at him and looking at what society told us or gave us a description of what Jesus is or what he was supposed to look like, I could see why one would be confused as to, is he the second coming of Christ? You get what I'm saying?
No.
So society told us that Jesus was a white man with woolly hair and kind of resembled what David Koresh, in a sense, looks like. That's what they gave us, was a white Jesus. So if I was a weak-willed individual and this man came up to me and was like, I'm the second coming of Christ, I could see how he would be able to pull a weak-willed individual in. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I was told that Jesus was black. Just like I was told Santa Claus was black.
Well, yes, and that's what we were told. But what I'm saying is, like, as society, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without getting banned from TikTok. This is really hard. The YT previous people, so ancestral people, told us Jesus, or told, especially black slaves, told us that Jesus was a white man with, good hair. He was supposed to be white, right? Mm-hmm. Scripturally, when we read the Bible, those of us that do, Jesus was black and of color, and of being in that region, from where Jesus was from, you would know Jesus was of color. But that's not the main point of the story today. The main point is, how did David Koresh get these people to follow him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now let me be a little messy for a second. I'm not messy all the time, but let me be a little messy for a second. A whole lot of dangerous men start with one thing they learn to weaponize really well. And it's not always money. It's not always looks. Sometimes it's just conviction. The ability to speak well and to speak like doubt never entered the room. The ability to say wild things with a straight face and enough intensity that people start thinking, well, maybe he knows a little something, or you might be onto something. And honestly, history has shown us over and over again that people are vulnerable to confidence. Confidence sells, confidence recruits, confidence hushes questions, even when it has no business doing any of that, right? So before Koresh was headlines and flames, he was building something more subtle, an identity rooted in certainty. And what am I trying to say, my love? In the right environment. Shit, I don't know. You ain't got the script. What am I trying to say? Help me. Can't get it out. And in the right environment, certainty, what's the word? Certainty can be more seductive than truth. So let's think about that. How many times have people followed the most confident voice in the room instead of the most credible one? And most of our cult likes, so yes, okay, hear me out. Our last cult leader we talked about was Jim Jones. He walked around with a confidence and a level of certainty about a lot of things. That's how he got a lot of his followers. A future cult leader that we're going to talk about in future series, Charles Manson, walked around with certainty and confidence. That's how he got a lot of his cult following, right?
So
this man today, yes, ma'am.
So going back to what we talked about last week, you don't think I'm weak? You don't think
cool.
You ain't never seen a female cult leader?
So that's the thing. Female cult leaders, and we're going to talk about a couple of them, because there are a couple of female cult leaders. They're slim, but there are some. But a lot of the female cult leaders, they come in a sense of how to put together your family. So the female cult leaders were attacking the family because they had to get to the woman or to the wife, because the wife was the weaker minded person and was more susceptible to following the cult leader. So when it's a man who's leading the cult, he can convince the man better, right?
Mm-hmm.
He can convince the man better. The female cult leader can convince the woman better, right? You get
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So,
in a sense,
w-
I just feel like can't
uh-huh.
no woman tell me what to do if you ain't got your shit together.
Yes, but that's because you're a stronger minded woman. So when you are a cult leader, you essentially have your shit together because you're able to manipulate the factors of the other people, right?
No, I mean,
You are
I'm
manip
not. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
say it's like. I'm not gonna say I'm strong willed in mine. Like in my mind, I mean, I am some days, but
Mhm.
a motherfucker can tell me some shit and I believe him because it's just like I don't know about it. So if
I'm sorry.
somebody,
Did that just yeah.
what? If I
So
don't,
so
so if I don't know
so
about something or a certain topic or whatever, a motherfucker can tell me anything and I'm gonna believe him. I'm like, oh, okay, for real.
so mm, all right. Mila's joining the cult. God damn it.
I never said I wasn't, but hey. Anywho,
Okay. Moving forward.
right? Yeah, exactly.
You never cease to amaze me.
What?
I'm clipping that. The question is bigger than Waco. The question follows us into politics, relationships, religion, social media, business, everywhere. Koresh matters because he is an extreme example of a pattern that shows up all the time. People confuse conviction with legitimacy. And once that happens, they start surrounding judgment they start surrendering judgment one layer at a time. So the common sense thing, and to the person who asked me in TikTok, have I ever tried pho? Yes, I love it. It's amazing. We should go get some.
I think I
So
do
they
anything.
start surrendering judgment one layer at a time. Terry, leave that question alone. For what cult you joining? Well, what cult are you joining? I gotta
I'll
know.
tell you later.
All right, because I feel like I gotta know. Wait, are you talking to me? You gonna tell me later, or you
Both
gonna
of
tell him
y'all.
later? Okay, because we gotta know. Because I gotta be able to write you as far as a letter. Because I feel like you gonna be one of those that join the cult, right? You join it, and
Hmm.
then you cut off all communication with the family and everything. And I
I
gotta know
do
where to
that
write you
already.
letters and all that.
I do that already. I cut communication off quick. I'm quick to go ghost the motherfuckers. When y'all don't see this Facebook pop up no more, guess what?
You done joined the cult. God damn it! Damn
Excommunicated.
it! Excommunicated. Goodness gracious.
Logged out of Snapchat. The only thing I got is Instagram. And that the DMs don't even be open.
I'm crying. Okay, let's join in. Let's jump into the Branch Davidians. So this was the name of the cult, right?
Uh-huh.
A group already primed for prophecy. The Branch Davidians did not begin with David Koresh. Britannica describes them as an offshoot with roots in earlier Davidian and Adventist movements, meaning they were already established. The branch, so let's kind of clear this up. The Branch Davidians were already established as a religious group. They were the ones who believed in the power of David, King David in the Bible. They didn't um David Koresh did not start the Branch Davidians. He did not start them. Now, when he got into them, he enhanced them and elevated them as a cult. Okay. Okay. We here, Mila?
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, are we here? YouTube, which camera is YouTube? YouTube, are we here? We here. Okay. Koresh didn't walk into a random neighborhood and just freestyle a cult out of nowhere. He stepped into a group that already believed the world was spiritually significant, that prophecy mattered, that scripture held hidden meanings, and that history itself was moving toward divine climax. So, in plain English, he walked into a place where people were already looking for someone special. That's why he was able to convince these people, I am the second coming of Christ. I read my Bible. And these are what the hidden messages of the scriptures are saying. So when people are looking for hidden messages in scripture and somebody comes along and like, oh, I can break it down. This is what it means. But nobody fact checked him. Nobody said, are you sure that's what that means? They want us to do what? What? Nobody put the Perry look on him like, huh? And nobody gave him that, okay.
Type shit.
Okay. Nobody gave him that doubt.
No,
And
no,
baby,
that's nobody did the type shit. That's what they said.
No, for real. Nobody said type shit. Matter of fact, nobody even said respect.
Literally, that's what modern day. If they did modern day cult, and I'm pretty sure they do. Nobody told that man type shit.
Nobody told. That's the problem. Had somebody said type shit, that would have put all the doubt in everybody's head. Because as soon as you say that, you kind of looking at somebody like,
or straight the fuck up. One of the three.
Exactly. Yes, Terry. He had a response for every question. So as somebody who is in the cult or in that vicinity, if I have a question, you give me a response, then I have a follow-up question, you give me a response, then I have another follow-up question, you still give me the response.
Oh, you ain't met me. That's the problem.
Because guess what? Somebody like you is going to keep asking and asking and asking.
Get me the fuck out of here, Terry.
You're going to keep asking and asking and asking until you get to a level where it makes sense. Because if it doesn't make sense for you, you're not going to follow and go through with it. But think about it. We also got to play timing into this. So now in a world where we question everything, a lot of people back then, and I'm saying back then like this was a long time ago, but in the 50s, 60s, 70s, a lot of times they didn't question stuff. They just took it for what it was, face value. That's it. When a group is already built around expectation of revelation, expectation of the end of times, expectation of divine signs, then a charismatic figure doesn't have to create hunger. They're already expecting it. They're already expecting it. He just has to feed it. That's how a lot of these stories go. The ground is already soft. The seeds fall easily. The audience is already spiritually tuned for urgency, chosenness, destiny. So Koresh didn't have to convince people that prophecy mattered. He had to convince them he mattered to the prophecy. And that is a very different job. But it's a much easier one, actually, especially if you know how to talk in ways that feel both mysterious and absolute. Britannica notes that the Branch Davidians were heavily associated with apocalyptic belief in biblical interpretation, which made leadership over doctrine a path to enormous influence. Let me say something that might be the thesis of this whole episode. Whoever controls interpretation controls people. I'm going to say that louder for the people in the back who didn't understand that. Whoever controls interpretation controls people. Because if I can convince you that I alone know what the sacred text really means, then I get to define reality for you. I get to tell you what danger means. I get to tell you what obedience means. I get to tell you what suffering means. And I get to tell you what waiting means. I get to tell you whether your instincts are wisdom or rebellion. And that is the deeper control. That's not just telling people what to do. That's telling them what their experiences need. And once somebody controls meaning, they can trap people without chains. That's why cult leadership is so scary. It doesn't always look like a cage. Sometimes it looks like guidance, sometimes it looks like spiritual mentorship, and sometimes it looks like I'm just helping you understand. Meanwhile, the whole time, your ability to think independently is being replaced. And by the time you notice, you may already be emotionally, spiritually, or physically in too deep. That's crazy work. Have you ever felt like you were in too deep?
As far as what?
Just anything. Any friendship, any relationship, any group like setting. Have you ever felt like you were in too deep?
Yeah, but you can't go back once you in.
That's the thing, you can.
You can't because you know too much stuff.
You
It's
know
just
too much.
like, no, you can't. Once you in too deep with something or someone, you can't. You can't go back from that.
You can. So in the movie The Mist, the weird formed occult in the supermarket by just stating the obvious to the lesser minded people. Yes, it's always lesser minded people that get caught up. But yes, you can go back. Now, you may not forget everything that you've seen or went through, but you can, when you start to notice you're in too deep, you can kind of pull yourself back if that's what you want to do. Sick of him. If that's what you want to do. Now, the question for you, is it something that you want to do? Do you want to pull yourself back from that, or do you like the benefits of being in that situation? Because there's some benefits of being in that type of situation.
It depends on the benefits.
It depends on the benefits. Now, don't ask me what the benefits are because I ain't in that type of situation. But I guess it's something phenomenal.
I mean, not all the time. It's not all the time. It just depends on the benefits. Sometimes the benefits.
The food good.
I hate
Harold.
Harold. Get the fuck on.
Hi, Harold. Thanks for tapping in. And real quick, while we got this little break, I appreciate everybody tapping in on the TikTok side. I appreciate everybody tapping in on the YouTube, the Facebook. Again, if you're on the TikTok side and you want to see the visuals, you could come on to the Parre podcast page on YouTube or the Perry Thompson Facebook page. Tap in and for the visuals. So let me give you guys a real quick visual of what one of the Bible studies looked like for um the Koresh group for the Davidians. So this is David Koresh. He is giving a Bible study or a lecture or a sermon. Not exactly sure what the sermon was about at this point, but um this is what he was doing. This is David Koresh. And then let me show you guys the compound. Where's that picture? Hang on, I'm gonna keep this up so I can get that picture for y'all. Mila, while I'm getting this picture up, do you have any quick questions for me?
Um, Not necessarily. Not right now.
Okay. Let's do this one. Oh shoot. Okay. So let me see. You guys can't see my screen just yet.
Harold. That's all it takes. That's it.
Okay. One moment. I just had it. Okay, so let's take a look here. This is the picture I had. Can you guys see this on the screen? I know Mila, you probably can't, but
Okay.
can my viewers see it? So this is what the compound looked like. This was the Branch Davidian compound in Waco. He was a preacher. He was also the leader of the Branch Davidian compound. Koresh's teachings reportedly made him central, not just spiritual, but socially and relationally. He also controlled groups like this, often spread from the doctrine into daily life. Who matters, who speaks, who obeys, who gets access, who gets favor, who gets punished. His authority was not abstract, it was lived. And honestly, that's what people miss when they make cult stories too simple. They think, oh, people just believed weird stuff. No, it's bigger than belief. It's structure, it's routine, isolation, dependency, and fear of being wrong, fear of losing community, fear of losing God, fear of losing your entire framework for reality. That's not easy to walk away from, even when the red flags are doing jumping jacks. And let's talk about the charisma for a second, because this man, baby, this man here, that man, David Koresh, he was a charismatic individual. And for followers who believed history was building towards something catastrophic and scared, Koresh offered a role in the ultimate story that can be intoxicating because human beings, they want meaning, they want belonging, they want to matter. And if one man says, you are not ordinary, you are chosen to witness the end and be a part of divine history, that hits different. That flatters the ego, that settles fear, that gives suffering a purpose. And once suffering has been renamed purpose, people can endure way more than they should. Yes, Harold, he had money too, but here's where the money came from. Sorry, I had to readjust. My legs was locking up. That money came from them. That money came from them. So a lot of them had jobs off of the compound, off of the where they went to work, and they poured back into the compound. A lot of them built that compound. They were carpenters, they were plumbers, they were teachers. They had their own community going, and they honestly they weren't hurting nobody. They weren't hurting nobody, but we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that. This episode is all about David Koresh, and it may go a little bit over an hour today.
You want to know something?
So yes.
He would have probably got me. Because why are you talking to me like that? Don't let it be some fine shit too. Dark skin. And you talking to me like that? Yeah, I'm going. Easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And what Harold said, they got good food. And you got money. Overly going.
You know what? Type shit.
That wasn't gonna faze me. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Never cared.
I'm crying.
Never gave a fuck about the type shit. Never gave a fuck about the none of that. Respect. None of that. None of that. Harold.
Respect.
Let some dark skin fine shit tell me that. Whispering good nothings in my ear.
Whispering good nothings in my ear is crazy.
How much? Where you want to go?
How much?
Oh, okay.
It's okay. It's just going to cost you your life. It's fine. It's just going to cost you your life.
You hear me? I'm down for the cause. Yeah.
On today's episode of Will You Be Caught by a Cult Leader?
They're going to catch Mila right.
And I'm not clocking that. Unclock it, Mila. I'm not clocking that. We're not clocking that one. Unclock it.
Whatever.
Crazy work. All right. As authorities and later report, I'm sorry. Can't. I'm stuck because I can't believe that he would have had you. So let's go back to that. So if he was dark skinned and some fun, he would have had you.
Overly going.
I'm not even gonna hold you, girl. He would have had me just the way he looked.
Look, Perry. Yeah, going.
I wish TikTok could see the visuals so that they could see what I'm talking about when I say that this man probably would have had me.
The only difference is I just don't necessarily like YT men. I can't get with it. That's why I said
So
he would
that's
have
enough.
had me if because he was talking good. He was talking smooth like butter. But he would have definitely had me if he was dark skinned.
So that's another.
Hey, mama.
So that. So that's another thing that I also kind of question. Did the person who was leading the cult appearance matter? Because if you notice, a lot of the cult leaders that we see, and especially our high profile cult leaders that we're going to get into, they kind of had some sort of attractiveness to them. It may not have been your type. Hey, what's up, Miss Yvonne? Thanks for tapping in. It may not have been your type of person that you would date, but they were somewhat attractive. Um, so let's just say hypothetically you were not cult shopping, but they were trying to
Cult
get you.
shopping is crazy to
Cult
say.
shopping is crazy, right? How much of how attractive did that person has to be for you to kind of even listen to their message?
It's not based off of looks
Mm-hmm.
per se for me ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's more so personality. So if your mouthpiece is smooth, I may give you a shot.
Okay.
But you gotta have some type of pizzazz in your look.
Some sparkle.
Yeah,
Some spunk.
Yeah.
Spirit fingers.
Yeah, you gotta have something to go along because it's just. But it be the ugly people. It be the ugly ones that can talk that talk and just be downright disgusting. Not in a good way, but like just. Yeah, just yeah. But it's always. Have you ever noticed? Like if you start off looking a little scruffy, people that people can put into you, not like materialistic or anything, but certain people, if you see how they look, or if you start talking to somebody and they some fine shit, you gonna wanna, dress yourself up because they fine too.
Yes.
So pour
Yes.
into yourself because you already talking to you talking to something bad.
Yeah. And that and that's where the layer of essentially control can start, especially if the person is a weak-minded individual. So like let's say this. You meet somebody and he knows he's top of the line, grade A, fine shit. You know he is.
Mm-hmm.
In your mind, I want to do anything I can to match his fly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna pour more into him, but I also want his level of fineness to stay the same. So I'm gonna pour money and monetary value into him because I know that's what he likes and that's what he's used to. And then next thing you know is you paying for haircuts, you paying for chains, you paying for fits, you paying for shoes, you
I
paying
mean,
for extra upkeep for the benefit of him, but he knows that he's the finest thing that you've ever had walking. He knows that. You see what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
So, like Terry said, the manipulation of it all. Oh, I'm a beautiful person. Thanks. I know. Thanks. I'm a beautiful person. I'm gonna make you pour into me and my beauty. I'm gonna make you fall in love deeper into this beauty. I'm gonna make you want to be with this beauty
That sound like
for the
strippers.
benefit of me and for some good penis. Crazy. Come on, Terry.
That
Oh,
sound
oh,
like strippers.
strippers.
Terry, don't piss me off. All right.
Respect.
That's
Respect.
why you're not getting your glasses back. Don't worry about it.
Get that man back his glasses.
Nope.
We'll talk about that on focus, Mila. Focus. See, this is why we don't have focus. All
Still
right.
get back.
Okay. Let's do this. Now we need to go where the cult stories always get ugly. Control almost never stays theoretical. It enters the body, homes, bedrooms, children, families, schedules, money, silence. That's when belief becomes domination. Because if a leader has enough power, he will eventually test whether his followers' loyalty applies only to ideas or to their actual lives. And that is where Koresh becomes deeply disturbing. The issue just wasn't apocalyptic preaching. It was that his authority reached into intimate territory, into people's most personal business. That is very common in high control groups. The leader starts with the soul and ends up claiming the body too. Because power is greedy, it rarely stays in one room. Once someone can command your beliefs, they usually begin pushing for your privacy, your relationships, your autonomy, and your identity. And the whole thing gets framed as holy. That's the sinister part. Abuse in these environments often wears sacred clothes. It gets renamed as sacrifice, obedience, divine order, spiritual submission, and that rebranding makes resistance much harder because now your discomfort is not just discomfort, it gets interpreted as weakness, rebellion, pride, or a lack of faith. That is manipulation at a terrifying level. And I want to say this carefully because stories like Waco get swallowed by the spectacle of the siege, the fire, the government response, and the media frenzy. But inside all of that were actual people. Adults, yes, but also children were hurt as well. Children who did not choose the theology, children who did not construct the power system, children who inherited the consequences that matters. Because once a story includes children living inside a leader's controlled world, the conversation cannot stay at the level of controversial beliefs. Now we're talking about vulnerability under authority. I'm not inviting to TikTok. I'm not doing co-host today. Now we are talking about vulnerability under authority. Now we are talking about the cost of unchecked reverence. Now we are talking about what happens when too many adults decide one man is beyond question. And that is never a safe situation. So here's the bigger question, right? Hang on. So Terry asks, do y'all think he already had all this in his mind in the start of him joining, or was he just growing slowly with power and created a monster? I definitely think his intent was never to be a harmful individual. I don't think that was his intent. I think once people started to follow him and start to hold him at a high regard, that's when he became like like power hungry, greedy for the power, greedy for the authority. When he realized people are looking to him to make decisions on their life, that's when he became the person who he was. So here's why Waco is such a big moment in history as well. And this is the issue that I have with Waco. So on February 28th of 1993, ATF agents attempted to execute a search warrant and an arrest warrant out Mount Carmel. DOJ records say the warrants involved allegations including unlawful possession of a destructive device. This is where the story shifts from ominous to explosive. What's up, Nehemiah? Thanks for tapping in. The federal government was not circling the compound just because people thought Koresh was strange. There were specific law enforcement concerns, and once those concerns escalated into warrants, the confrontation moved from a contained religious community issue into a national crisis in the making. So let's break that down. Here's my issue. Hear me out. And don't get on here ready to tussle with me. These people were minding their business, right? The Waco people, the Branch Davidians, were living their lives, minding their business. Here's the issue that the American government had with them minding their business. Their business included housing weapons, and not just any weapons. These were like ARs, AKs. These were what the YNs modified their weapons to today.
All they
So
missing is a
when
switch.
that listens, because it's the label.
You're yeah.
So listen. So because the government couldn't actually see what those weapons were and know their intended use, because of that, because they feared the safety of the community around Waco, they wanted to search and seize and take the weapons, right? They were scared of what was to come with that. And quite honestly, from the outside looking in, if I knew that, like if I was somebody outside of the Waco community, if I knew they're housing bombs, they're housing AKs, ARs, switch like material, warlike material. If I knew that they were housing that, yeah, I would be concerned as well. But am I minding the business that pays me, or am I snitching?
None of my business.
I'm minding. I think it's one of those things where if they not actively using it,
Even if they
why are
are,
we?
in my business.
I'm crying. Why are we? Why are we worried about it? You know?
If it ain't got nothing to
Um.
do with me and mine, I'm minding my business.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. But what?
Nope.
Never mind.
Perry, mind
No.
your
All right.
business.
All right. All right. I'm minding it. All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Here's the thing about situations like this. By the time law enforcement arrives at the gates of a high control apocalyptic group, the situation is already combustible, meaning it's already building up, getting ready to explode. Something is happening. It's
Combust is
combustible.
crazy.
Combustible. Like
That is a funny word.
it's a funny word. Combustible. Combustible. Because the group because the group may interpret outside scrutiny not as accountability, but as prophecy fulfilled, that is a nightmare setup. If a leader has spent years telling followers the outside world is corrupt, the government is hostile, persecution is coming, we are chosen, we are under attack. Then, when the agents actually show up, the leader's credibility can go up and not down. He done sat here for years telling these people the government is coming, the government's the enemy, I'm the second coming of Christ. They want to hurt you. They want to kill you. The government, the government, the government, the government. And then the agents show up and knock on the door to do what he said that they would do. That just gave him more credibility. That just gave him the okay to play out what was planned. Was that the only alienation or problem they had, or were there other reasonable doubts? So for the government, the only problem that they had was that they could not tell what those weapons were going to be used for. So for those on my TikTok side, when you guys do these 30-second to a minute videos of who David Koresh was, and you guys say that that the government kicked in on him because he married children. No, David Koresh was one of the few cult leaders who practiced child marriage. He did not practice child marriage. He did not have sex with children. Now he had sex with every woman in the compound and made some children. He made them divorce their husbands if they needed to, so that he can have them. But he did not partake in child sex crimes. He did not do that. The government was mainly targeting him because he had warlike machinery and weapons, and they did not know what they were going to use them for. That's it. That's all. So think about how twisted that is. The very thing that should break the spell can strengthen it. Because conflict starts looking like proof. That is one of the most dangerous mechanics in apocalyptic belief. They absorb contradiction. If nothing happens, the prophecy is still unfolding. So let's just play it like this, right, Mila? If the ATV came and nothing happened, the siege didn't happen, the standoff didn't happen, if nothing came, the fact that they came and still knocked on that door still is prophecy unfolding from the mouth of David Koresh, because he told his followers, he told them, he said that the people do not like you. The government does not like us. They're fearful of us. They can't stand us. He said that. So because he said they're coming to stop us and to stop what we're doing, because they simply knocked on the door, gave him credibility. If something happens, the prophecy was then confirmed. That means the leader can reinterpret almost any event as validation. And that makes de-escalation brutally difficult. So let's be honest here. Let's just have a moment. America has never exactly had a spotless relationship with religion, weapons, paranoia, or overreaction. Put all of that into one place with a self-styled prophet, woof, you got a situation for absolutely no chill. Everything going up in flames, literally, and it did. Crazy. Crazy. So, let's take a break here. Let's kind of let our mental breathe for a second. Because we have, hang on, I got to get the banner. Move. We have paratisments. Yay! Miley, do the clap. All right, we have paratisments. Paratisments are advertisements for the Kansas City area and surrounding areas with events, Parre and Scary Perry style. Paratisments. Yay, yay. Alrighty, so the first paratisement, we want to give a shout out to Knucklehead Clothing. You can order your Knucklehead Clothing at www.knuckleheadclothing.com. Again, the website is on the screen, www.knuckleheadclothing.com. Shout out to him. He is the sponsor of the Perry Tea Management podcast, for my podcast, for myself, for the business itself. Reach out to him, get you some fits. Our next announcement that we have, Battle of the Food Vendors, Saturday, May 9th, 2026 at the Royal Mansion, 6240 Raytown Traffic Way, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., $75 a table or 2 for $100, $10 entry. So the $75 table or 2 for $100, I believe that's for vendors. But you can do a $10 entry. The Get It Off Your Chest podcast will be hosting along with Certified Redbone, and I believe sounds will be by DJ Yellowboy. So come out, have a good time, eat some good food, and chat with some good people, and just enjoy the vibes. Perry Tea Management is accepting new clients for podcast management, artist management, brand ambassadoring, and virtual personal assisting. You can reach out to me to set up a consultation to meet. Serious inquiries only. DM me to book your consult. Every third Saturday of the month is free consultation Saturdays. So versus them being $30 an hour, if you book on the third Saturday of the month, it is a free. But that consultation is cut in half. It is no longer 45 minutes. It is roughly a 20-minute consultation. Again, you can reach out to me to book yours today. And that is all the paratisments that I have. Mila, do you have anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay, you guys ready to jump back in? Are you ready to jump back in, Mila?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk about the raid. On February 28th, 1993, this is the raid that changed everything. The FBI timeline says the confrontation at Mount Carmel resulted in deaths of 4 ATV agents and 6 Branch Davidians. That date matters because after that morning, this story was never going back to normal. Whatever possibility existed for a quiet arrest, a contained legal process, or a limited intervention got swallowed up by gunfire. And once people die early in confrontation like this, every side becomes more hardened, more afraid, more suspicious, and more dug in. For law enforcement, the compound became even more dangerous. For those on the inside, the raid could now be interpreted through Koresh's worldview as proof that persecution had arrived. That means the initial violence didn't just kill people, it deepened the psychology of the siege. So remember, he was telling his people that this was going to happen. The government was going to come and kill them because of their beliefs, because of him being the second coming of Christ. Persecution was coming for them. He was telling them that. So it was all playing out when the FBI arrested them or came and knocked on the door. They had the standoff. The 4 ATV agents was killed. The 6 branch Davidians were killed. This was all happening. This was all what was intended to happen in his point of view. He saw this coming. When a community already believes it is under spiritual threat and then armed conflict happens, survival and prophecy can become psychologically fused. The leader can say, oh, my phone. No. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, I'm having TikTok issues. Okay, there we go. The leader will say, I told you so. I told you this would happen. And suddenly his warning feels less like manipulation and more like fulfillment. So let's talk about this standoff. The Waco siege lasted 51 days. I wonder what they was doing in there for 51 days in that compound.
I'm talking about a few ideas.
Huh?
I said I got a few ideas.
Mila, come on now.
What? You act like that?
Seriously.
One of those can't happen.
No, not during the standoff. Not during the standoff when you got the FBI right outside ready to blow your head off. Why is that on your mind for 51 days?
Because you might die. Why not?
The first thing on my mind would be, where's the food?
That too, but I'm saying,
do we have enough to eat?
If we finna die.
And actually, no, let me take that back. The first thing on my mind at that point, I think that's probably when I would snap back because I'm not ready to die. So how do I get out of here alive?
You can't.
How do I make it out of here alive?
They got you surrounded. You can't.
Here's the thing. They did release some people. And by people, I mean children. A lot of the children, or not a lot of them, but some of the children were able to be released. They were working. So negotiations were being made with David Koresh and the lead negotiator to release some of the children and then also some of the hurt branch Davidians that didn't die, but they got hurt. So a couple of them were able to be released, not all of them. So I think that would be my main goal at that point because I'm not ready to check out of here. I didn't sign up for this part. This is not the part that I signed up for. I would probably be gone. What are you doing in there, Mila? For 51 days.
Huh?
Are you becoming the chosen one?
I might. I probably already am. Go ahead, rub one out with him.
Mila.
Okay, sorry. My bad. I'll take it back.
Take it back.
Unclock it.
Unclock it. Thank you. The Waco siege lasted 51 days, ending on April 19, 1993. That duration is consistently reflected in authoritative summaries, including DOJ materials. 51 days. Not 5, not 10, not a chaotic weekend, but 51 days. That's long enough for hope to rise and fall repeatedly. Long enough for fear to become routine. Long enough for trust to erode. Long enough for pressure tactics, spiritual narratives, negotiation, waiting, exhaustion, and uncertainty to start reshaping everybody involved. That kind of standoff doesn't just happen on the news. It happens in people's nervous systems. And while negotiators worked the situation, Some people did leave the compound. DOJ materials discuss the negotiation process and difficulty of moving more people out. Many stayed, and this is where people on the outside always have the same question. Why didn't they just leave? That question makes emotional sense from the couch, right? So, because this was televised. For those of you guys who didn't know, the Waco siege was televised. It was something that was breaking news every day for 51 days. So, while the world sat there and watched this happen from the couch, they were asking, why didn't these people just leave? And it's because leaving a high control group is rarely just stepping through the front door. It can mean losing your entire social identity, your spiritual certainty, your community, your family ties, your understanding of God, your explanation for suffering, and your imagined future. You think they were in there trying to get the women pregnant so they can get out with the bang and have their
So they can go out with a bang and do.
Okay, so hear me out.
Their legacy gonna live on forever.
If it gets out of the building alive. Did we forget?
What?
Oh no, we haven't gotten to that part yet. Oh, I forgot. You don't know the story.
No.
Um Let me see. Let me skip ahead because I'm going on something. So the final day, April 19th, 1993, the FBI proceeded with the plan involving tear gas insertion. Fires later broke out and destroyed Mount Carmel. The DOJ reporting states there was no evidence government vehicles started the fire, that there was conclusive evidence that the Branch Davidians started it. This is where the story becomes almost unbearable. Because regardless of the long arguments people have had for decades about decisions, tactics, responsibilities, what could have gone differently, the ending is still the ending. The compound burned. People died. Children died. That story had been building for 51 days. The story that had been building for 51 days ended not with revelation, not with rescue, not with some last minute miracle, but with devastation. The outcome was nearly 80 people were killed, while other summaries cite that 76 were. And that is the point I don't ever want to get buried under debate. What consisted of a dozen adults and children died. Dozens of adults and children died that day. Dozens of people died. That's not trivia. That's not symbolism. That's not just historic controversy. That is humans that lost their life on a horrific scale. And it's because when we watch the documentaries, or when I watch the documentaries of this leading up to this, the FBI shot that tear gas in there, not knowing that the Branch Davidians had a chemical bomb in there that, when met with the tear gas, would go off, causing the fire. Right? The children, when they shot the tear gas in there to protect the children, they moved them to this area of the back of the compound, kind of like in one documentary movie, it was kind of like a school bus, like they tunneled under into a school bus type of thing to get them to hide from the tear gas. However, they didn't know that the bomb in the tear gas, when they met, would explode. So the children were trapped with some of their parents in that area. So, also what happened, Koresh, our fine cult leader there, died there as well. The Department of Justice reporting says he died of a gunshot wound to the forehead, and he was 33 years old. That number alone feels eerie in the story where so much framed in Masonic terms, meaning Jesus died around 32. Crazy, right? And he
Did
called
he?
himself the second coming of Christ. Yeah, Jesus was crucified around the age of 32 to 35, roughly. So a lot of people take that as, was he the second coming of Christ? The people that still followed his methods and teaching still think the same, but that's not my viewpoint. So here's the aftermath. Waco didn't end at Waco. The FBI's history of the Oklahoma City bombing says that Timothy McVeigh's anti-government rage intensified after Waco. He chose April 19th, 1995, the second anniversary of the Waco fire, for the Oklahoma City bombing. That is one of the darkest parts of this whole story. That difference matters a lot. It is one thing to follow a man who is dodging law enforcement. It is another. Oh, sorry. I'm lying. That is one of the darkest parts of the whole story. The tragedy didn't stay contained. It became symbol. It became grief. It became a rallying image for people who wanted to turn pain into ideology and ideology into more violence. And that's the danger of national trauma. If people don't process it honestly, they weaponize it. They turn real deaths into slogans, real suffering into propaganda, real catastrophe into recruitment material. That's ugly. And it's why stories like Waco have to be handled with care. Not because the facts are too fragile, but because people are always attempted to, I'm not doing a co host. People are always tempted to bend tragedy toward whatever they already wanted to believe, which is honestly another cult like move, if you think about it. Take the pain, strip it of its complexity, turn it into proof for your worldview. That pattern keeps repeating across history. And maybe that's why this episode matters now. Not because the mechanics of manipulation are still here, and not because most people are joining compounds in Texas, and the hunger for certainty is still there. Yes, the seduction of strong voices, yes, is still here. But the power of apocalyptic thinking and chosen people, narratives, us versus them thinking, is still very much here. Yes, David Koresh is dead. Mount Carmel is gone. 1933 is long over. But the architecture of his influence and how to influence cult like behavior, that's still dangerous. And that is how manipulation sounds when it is warming up. So maybe the deeper lesson of Waco isn't just be aware of cult leaders. I'm thinking it's be aware of any person, movement, ideology, or relationship that demands you to hand over your ability without question. So before I get into this outro, Mila, do you have any scary therapy moments today?
Um, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna turn this heat off. I'm burning up.
Are there modern day parallels to leaders like him?
Not that I'm aware of or searched up. Um, but I believe so. I believe there's somebody. There's plenty of people that always excuse me, sorry, that always walk around and think that they are the second coming of Christ. And there's people that have a following that believe that are willing to follow that person because they haven't picked up the Bible or read the Bible for themselves. And if they have, a lot of those cult, especially modern day cult leaders, tell them, well, the Bible's been rewritten and remade over 76 times. How do you not know that they didn't put this in there? And they interpreted the scripture for what they want to believe in, and they spread it that way. So, yeah, in a sense, I do believe that there's some people that used his influence to influence others. Yes.
I
In
can't
a
fully subscribe to that.
but I get what he's saying, because in a sense we do have some preachers that don't always that aren't biblically sound, and that take the Bible and take the scripture and take it out of context to fit what they're trying to say, as far as You see this with a lot of false doctrinal preachers, right? You see that they try to manipulate their audience or their congregation, especially the ones who are money hungry type preachers. If you notice, a lot of a lot of their preaching methods are give, 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 give. You got to offer, you got to tithe, you got to give, 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 give. Well, let's break that scripture down. You don't just have to. Yes, they gave 10%. Yes, they offered, but they also gave their time. They gave what they could. But a lot of these preachers, or a lot of these most of these false doctrinal preachers that are all about money, is like, you got to give X amount of dollars. Like, some churches make it to where they go off your income and they tell you what to give. What you mean you gonna go off my tax return and tell me what I'm supposed to give a month?
But that's the
What?
thing. How can they get your tax return? How do they know how much you make?
That's what I'm saying. Like, as a member, like so you become a member of that church. They sit down, they talk to you, and then they ask you for your W-2s. You do like a new member orientation type thing. They
What
ask
church
for
do
your
that?
W-2s. A lot of these churches, a lot of these mega churches do that. They ask for your W-2s, or they try to get to know you, be like, well, where you work? How much do you make? All in the spirit of brother in Christ, sister in Christ, for them to be able to sit down and tell you how much you're supposed to be giving bi-weekly or weekly or monthly, which is insane. I could never. You don't tell me how much to give to
I've
do
never
that.
been. I've never been to a church that's like that.
And thank God we never been to a church like that. We got the power of discernment. I'm sure if we ever came across a church like that, we would run. I would hope you would run. Are you going to run?
I mean, yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Please run. Guys, I'm not doing co-host on TikTok side. We're not doing that. Jesus. Girl, that won't be bad.
Um, how should how should society handle groups
How
that
should Shisha,
claim?
huh? How should
Shut
Shisha,
up,
huh?
Perry. I know you not talking.
Hey, I have
Right.
an impediment.
Right.
Go ahead.
Um, how should society handle groups that claim religious freedom but show signs of harm?
I think it's all about communication. I think it's all about having conversations. And when I say communication and conversations, I definitely mean um stop screen. I definitely mean like sending don't send the ATV, don't send the FBI, don't send them all uniformed up and everything. It's just simply that government of that town, the mayor, whatever, the police department of that town, just simply going to that compound, that place, and talking to them.
But talking doesn't always help.
It may. I think it's just not. I don't think it's what you say. I think it's probably how you say it, how you come across to some individuals. If you coming across as, I know I'm the set all end all be all. This is how it's going to go. You need to get rid of whatever weapons you got. Y'all are dangerous. You're brainwashing people. That like, if you come at them in an attackful manner, of course they're going to attack back. That's like you talking to me in an attackful way, and of course I'm going to bite back. You don't just get to bite and bark at me and I'm just sitting there silent. That's not fair to me.
I mean, I feel like even how you say certain things, people are gonna bite and bark back because of what you're saying. I'm not gonna say it doesn't matter how you say it. It matters, but I'm saying even if you're talking in a calm tone, what you
Hmm.
say may, you know, they may
It
not
may
want to
be,
hear what you say, so they gonna
and
bite
that's
back.
fact. And it may be offensive to them, because like you said, they're not liking what you have to say, because sometimes the truth hurts. You can be as calm as you want to be. You can be soft spoken, tongue not sharp like a sword, but sometimes the truth in reality, it hurts people. But that's when you, as the conversational leader, have to pick up on the cues, like, oh, okay, what I've said probably could have offended them. We're going to go ahead and cut the conversation short and move forward. No, you can't fully subscribe to that.
I can't, because it's just like, if y'all don't talk about it, how are y'all gonna find a resolution to shit?
So
Or how
sometimes,
you're gonna make, or how, it's not. I mean, it's about finding resolution, but it's also about like holding that person accountable.
and that's true, but sometimes timing does not allow you to have those tough conversations because a person's not ready to hear it. But when they become ready to hear it, they will let you know. They will tell you for sure, like, okay, I'm ready to talk about it. And if it's one of those things where they're ready and now you're not, then you just have to, y'all both have to come to a common ground of, okay, so either we gonna talk about it or we not. If I'm ready and you're not, when will you be ready so that we can? When do you think you will be ready? Do you know? If you don't have a time frame of knowing when you'll be ready to talk about something,
It ain't never gonna
it
get
may
talked
not,
about.
it may not. But then that's when you decide for yourself, do I want to keep bringing it up because I feel like the closure is needed and we need to talk about it to get through it, or do I want to just go ahead and let it die, and we are going to build off of it. We let it
You
die.
can't build off of
We go.
fucked upness energy, or like whatever happened. You can't build you can't you just can't. In my eyes, you can't build off of that and think everything's okay and think everything's gonna go back to normal and be right.
Hang on, I gotta make. I'm listening. I'm trying to, because I can't see that comment. Okay, that goes back to him stating the obvious to his people. If you are having a verbal disagreement with the government about your property, then it's easy to go back to your people and say, hey, the government is coming to us. He was also very arrogant. Yes, he was very arrogant, but he was very charismatic. And he was very arrogant simply because of the fact everything that he was saying was coming true. Like it's one thing if everything he was saying and then the police ATF and the FBI, if none of them came to mess with them, none of his prophecies would have been came true or came to fruition. It wouldn't have made him an arrogant person. It wouldn't have built his head or built his ego because nothing was working. You see what I'm saying? But yes, Mila, back to you. In my opinion, it's one of those things where at some point you guys are going to have to bite the bullet and have the tough conversation. That tough conversation comes with a level of maturity that probably not everybody has reached. And if they have reached it, sometimes they can revert into immaturity when it comes time to those conversations because like I said, the truth hurts. What's being said is hurtful, or they've already have a preconceived notion of how the conversation will go. And when you have those tough conversations, you can't walk into them with the preconceived notion of, oh, I'm already knowing how they're going to react to this. I already knowing how they're going to say. You have to go into those with an open mind and an open heart and be ready to accept whatever. They may surprise you. They may take accountability and apologize for everything that happened. They may come to you with solutions for problem A, B, and C. So
Um,
yeah.
why do charismatic leaders often tie power to divine purpose?
I'm sorry, repeat your question. I was reading a hater on TikTok.
Why do charismatic leaders often tie power to divine purpose?
Why do charismatic leaders often tie creative power to divine purpose?
Tie power to divine purpose.
Because it's easy. It's
Can
easy
be
for them to. It's easy for them to say or be super super nice and say, "I came from God.
but
I
that's the
have all
thing.
this power." hmm
Charismatic people aren't always nice. They just know how to talk, and they got charm.
When you're charismatic, essentially your personality trait is nice. You are a nice person. You get along with most people.
I don't
Here we
necessarily
go.
believe that.
She can't fully
I
subscribe to
can't
that.
because it's just like I've met people that aren't. I'm not gonna say they're not a people person, but they're not they're being nice ain't their trait. I mean, it can be, but that's just like that's like people telling me I'm charismatic. I'm
Okay.
not nice. I mean, I can be.
So, do you know what charismatic means?
What does it mean?
So let's. Oh, I love this moment. Let's do a lookup. Let's get the definition of charismatic. Exercising of compelling charm which inspires devotion. Let's see. So that's for Christian. Let's look up charisma.
Hey, I know a girl named Charisma.
So compelling attractiveness or charm that can inspire others, a divinely conferred power or talent. So you have a charm, right? You're nice when you want to be. You have a charm, okay? In order to have a charm, you have to have a level of niceness because the niceness comes from the charm. You see what I'm saying? Or the charm comes from the niceness. You can't just be mean because when you're being mean, you're not charming. Nobody wants to be around a mean ass. You're not charming.
I mean, some
When you're
people like
nice,
that shit.
you're charming.
Some people like that shit.
Some people, I get, hey, that's a personal preference. I can't fully subscribe to it. Personal preference. When you're mean, you're not being charming. When you're nice, you're being charming. You're being charismatic. It comes from the basis of being nice. So, what was your original question? I'm sorry, my ADHD is.
It's okay. Do you think he truly believed he was a prophet, or was it just manipulation?
I think he truly believed he was a prophet. I think he had some type of psychological identity disorder that developed over time, over years, when he read his Bible and when he broke down. Because really, I think I think he thought he was David, in the Bible, which is why he changed his name to David Koresh. I really think he identified with some of the characteristics of King David. So he thought he himself as King David. That's who he thought he was. And like I said, I think he just has some type of identity disorder.
I can see that. Okay.
You got another one, or?
Yeah, I got one more.
Okay.
What personality traits made David Koresh so persuasive to his followers?
His charismatic, him being charismatic, him being confident in his beliefs. So confidence is attractive. Do you believe do you think confidence is attractive? Yes. So I definitely think him being charismatic, him being confident, him being intelligent. I know for me as a woman, when I'm looking at a man, your intellectual ability to capture my mind, that's like top tier. That's top tier. Intellectual, top tier.
And that's the thing. It's starting to be. It just started to be for me, like within beginning of this year, maybe 2 months ago, whatever. But it's just like the more I read, the more I just find out, like, I mean, yeah, it's about myself too, but books like the 48 Laws of Power, like the Art of Seduction, those is all, it ties into one. And it's just like to have somebody that mentally that can get you, or that you can talk stuff through. Yeah, I see why.
That mental stimulation, I've always been a big person on mental stimulation. I feel like if you can evolve somebody mentally, and you can talk to them and y'all have genuine conversation. Y'all piggyback off of each other. Y'all learn from one another. Y'all enhance each other intellectually. That's an amazing feeling. That's something that you just can't you just can't get rid of. Any other questions?
Mm-mm.
Alrighty, so everybody on TikTok, thank you guys for tuning in so long. This has been the longest live we done, and so far it's been pretty good. I enjoyed y'all. Thanks for coming in, coming out. Make sure you double tap the screen, like the live, so that we can go up on the algorithm. And then to my Facebook and YouTube family, thank you guys for joining in to another episode of the Scary Perry podcast, the High Profile Cult Leaders miniseries, the story of David Koresh, the Branch Davidians, and the tragedy of Waco. If this episode had you thinking a little deeper, side eyeing charisma a little harder, and realizing how a thin line can be between belief and control, then you already know this conversation is far from over. Make sure you stay tapped in with the Scary Perry podcast because the mini series is only getting darker. More leaders, more manipulation, more stories where devotion turns deadly. I'm Perry T, along with
Your girl Mila B.
and the B stand for broke down the Waco Coat.
I'm weak.
Stay curious, stay grounded, and don't let anybody hypnotize your common sense. Now, you guys have a great day. And again, thanks for tuning in to Scary Perry. Bye.